Phineas and Ferb is a top 10 cartoon of all time for me. In a cartoon universe dominated by SpongeBob and Amazing World of Gumball and Adventure Time, Phineas and Ferb stood out as being a show that was just really fucking creative with its ideas. I mean, there's literally an episode where they made a fucking airplane out of paper mache. No other show was doing that shit but Phineas and Ferb. And back then when they announced that they were bringing the show back for season 5, I was genuinely excited, because even though the show had ended, I was still excited for it. It was Phineas and Ferb for fuck's sake. And they just came out with a movie like 2 years prior, so it's like, it wouldn't be the craziest thing in the world for the show to come back. And then it came out, I was so geeked to watch it. I put on that first episode and yeah, I only watched like 3 more episodes after that, and then I realized that I just didn't give a shit. And that's what leads me to the topic of today's video. Phineas and Ferb should have stayed dead. And by dead, I mean they shouldn't have brought it back at all. They should have just left it where it was. A finished show. A completed show, okay? They should have left it behind, done something else, but no, they fucking brought it back. So you know what? We're gonna talk about today. And I'm not gonna hit you with the like and subscribe bullshit because I don't think most of y'all even be listening to that shit. So you know what? I'm not gonna do it. We're gonna go straight into the video. So let's go. Number 1. See, the thing about Phineas and Ferb is that it didn't get canceled and then brought back to finish the show like some other Disney shows like Kim Possible had to do. Phineas and Ferb already ended back in 2015. They had a whole series finale and everything. They even had 2 separate episodes after the finale, the Alka File shit. That shit was boring as hell, by the way. With Phineas and Ferb having ended, Jeff and Swampy moved on to a new show, Milo Murphy's Law, which you know what? That show was gas. If you didn't watch that show, I highly suggest you do. It's on Disney Plus. Just go ahead, watch it right now. That show was fucking gas. Unfortunately, Milo Murphy's Law ended after 2 seasons, which I feel like some of the blame has to go towards the fact that they started using the Phineas and Ferb characters towards the end of that show. Specifically Doofenshmirtz, because he showed up in the special, and after the special, he just kept showing up. Literally, just kept fucking showing up. I just don't understand what the fuck their logic was. Why the fuck is Doofenshmirtz in every fucking episode he's actually part of this fucking show? After Milo Murphy's Law ended, Dan Povenmire himself did another show for Disney called Hamster and Gretel, which was basically Gretel was a superhero. Well, they were both superheroes, and then there was her brother. It was a stupid ass show. I don't gotta get into this shit. The point is, he did that show, and it got canceled because I don't think anyone watched that shit. And in between all these shows, Dan and Swampy made a second Phineas and Ferb movie, which streamed on Disney Plus back in 2022. Candace Against the Universe, which I love that movie. I think it's a great addition to the Phineas and Ferb lore because it takes place before the show ends, but it still feels like a separate thing, It doesn't feel like just a regular fucking episode of Phineas and Ferb. It feels like they actually cared to tell a story relating to Candace and just her feeling worthless. I don't know. I gotta watch the movie again, but it's a really good movie. You should check it out. And I feel like the movie is what really started the bring Phineas and Ferb back train, Because after the movie, there was a lot of interest in Phineas and Ferb. Disney didn't really have a lot of original shows coming out. I mean, they had the Owl House and Amphibia at the time, but both of those shows ended. And Owl House was supposed to go on for longer, but then Disney canceled it because they were getting a lot of hate from certain countries because of Lumity. So with that being said, I think there's 2 main reasons as to why Phineas and Ferb got brought back. 1, because Disney is greedy as fuck, and 2, because Dan Swampy might have peaked with Phineas and Ferb. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not saying they did, but honestly, maybe they think they did, and they just can't come up with anything better than Phineas and Ferb. Which honestly isn't really that embarrassing. Phineas and Ferb is Phineas and Ferb, okay? You can't really recreate that shit. It's a lightning in a bottle type of show. So I feel like they just settled for, let's bring Phineas and Ferb back and just keep making the same old shit. Which I guess for kids is fine. But for me personally, who is obviously older now since the show ended, I just really don't give a shit, man. Number 2. If you've seen Phineas and Ferb, then you know that every episode has the same formula. Phineas and Ferb get a crazy idea for an invention. They build said invention, they have fun with it with their friends. Candace spends the majority of the episode trying to bust them. Then you get the B plot, which is Perry the Platypus and Doofenshmirtz. Doofenshmirtz has some what the fuckinator, trying to take over the tri-state area, yeah. And then Perry, stops him and destroys the machine. But before the machine blows up, the machine goes off one more time. And coincidentally gets rid of whatever Phineas and Ferb built before Candace can have their mom see it and, get them in trouble and shit. Now, I'm not criticizing the formula itself because it obviously works. Phineas and Ferb isn't the longest running Disney Channel show for no reason. But I feel like one of the main reasons the show ended in the first place was just because, well, yeah, fatigue. You know, after a while, you just get tired of the same old formula. Not to mention, there's only so many ideas you can come up with that fucking formula. And I think Dan and Swampy realized that, and that's probably why they wanted to end the show. Now, obviously, it's 10 years later, and they probably had a lot of time to think about like new ideas for episodes and stuff. But I still don't want to watch it. And honestly, it's just because, yeah, I already know the formula. I know what every episode's gonna be like. And even if they do switch it up every now and then, most of the episodes are just gonna be the same fucking shit. And the thing that's probably gonna happen is that they're just gonna get more and more outrageous with the ideas because they really can't think of anything else other than something completely outrageous or over the top. And there's nothing wrong with a show being like over imaginative, you know? Rick and Morty used to do it like all the time. They still do, but obviously with Rick and Morty, it got boring as well. Every episode will be some overcomplicated bullshit, and after a while, you just get really sick of it. And you know what? I have the same feeling now about Phineas and Ferb, because realistically, it's just the same shit that was coming out back then. The only difference is the animation got better. It's more cleaner. So yeah, I'm not gonna sit down and watch something that I've literally already seen like hundreds of times already, okay? If I wanna do that, I can just watch the first 4 seasons. And I'm not saying the new season is bad. From what I've seen, people enjoy the new season. So if you genuinely enjoy the new season, then, you know, props to you. Like, I'm glad that you enjoy it. I'm glad that they came back and they made something that you can actually like enjoy, you know, and just be nostalgic about your childhood and sitting down and watching Phineas and Ferb. But me personally, I just don't give a shit. Number 3. You probably saw this segment coming, so you already know what I'm gonna say. I'm too fucking old for this shit, man. What can I say? You know, back then, I was like 9 years old when Phineas and Ferb ended, and I was in the perfect target demographic for this show, you know? Because this show was targeted towards kids. Not teenagers or adults, but kids. So with me being 19 years old now and having seen a bunch of other TV shows come out after Phineas and Ferb, and ultimately just having expanded my taste in television and movies since Phineas and Ferb, yeah, I just really don't give a shit anymore. I'm not gonna lie. Now, obviously, kids are gonna sit down and enjoy Phineas and Ferb because, yeah, that's the target demographic for this show. But me personally, I'm not gonna get the same level of enjoyment that I used to get out of this show, okay? With Gumball, yeah, but I mean, that's different. Gumball was targeted towards like kids, teenagers, you know, young adults. That show still fits my demographic. Hell, I could probably be like 40 years old and still be watching Gumball because there's a lot of adult jokes in that show. The same with SpongeBob. And you know what? All those 90s Nickelodeon shows too. But with Phineas and Ferb, I'm not really gonna have that same like experience, you know? Because yeah, I watched the show when I was growing up, so there might be a nostalgia like factor there. But other than that, I'm just really not gonna give a shit. If I see my kids watching Phineas and Ferb in the future, I'll probably sit down and watch for like 30 seconds and then remember exactly why I stopped watching that show in the first place. Cause I'm too fucking old for this shit, man. Number 4. This last reason is probably the other main reason as to why I wanted Phineas and Ferb to stay dead. Because there's been a trend in Hollywood nowadays where these old TV shows and movie series are getting brought back, you know, for a modern audience. And I'm not gonna lie, I don't support it. I really don't. Now look, obviously when a show gets canceled and it doesn't like get to finish its story, you know, like Samurai Jack or like Gumball, then that's okay to bring it back, okay? It's okay then because you're finishing that show. You're giving it the ending that it deserves. And you're giving closure to the fans that were watching the show. But that's not really the case with Phineas and Ferb because it literally ended 10 years ago. Like it had a whole series finale and everything, man. That show ended and it got put to rest. And then they brought it back because Disney was greedy as fuck. At this point, I'm genuinely worried that Phineas and Ferb is gonna get the SpongeBob treatment. Because SpongeBob has been steadily declining since the early 2000s, and they still keep making new episodes of this shit. Like, it's literally to the point where Tom Kenny's voice does not sound the same anymore, because he's getting older. Like, at this point, just end the show already. Like, literally. No, who is watching this shit? Nobody is watching this shit anymore, except for nostalgic fans, or literally just kids who are only watching because it's fucking SpongeBob. And you know what? The same thing is probably gonna happen to Phineas and Ferb, because who knows when they're gonna end this show? Like, literally, the show literally ended back in 2015, and then they proceed to bring it back 10 years later simply because they can't think of anything fucking original. And I'm sick of it. Everything's just a sequel to a sequel, or a spinoff to a sequel, or just a sequel to a spinoff. It's just so fucking annoying at this point. I just can't take it anymore. Bring back original content, please. Bring back something original. Outbursts aside, I think Phineas and Ferb is a reflection of Hollywood just wanting to not do anything original nowadays. Because doing something original is more risky than just making a sequel to a spin-off, or a spin-off to a sequel, or a movie that already exists inside a large popular fan base, you know? That's why you always see new Star Wars movies and new Marvel movies and new like Toy Story movies, because that stuff is gonna sell, and they know it's gonna sell. And that's really the main issue as to why shows like Phineas and Ferb are getting brought back, even though they ended. These big studios just don't want to take risks anymore. You know, they want to play it safe. They want to keep it comfortable. They want to do what they know is already gonna make money instead of trying something new and just seeing how it turns out. And you know what? I say fuck them for that, because it's just lazy as shit. And this leads me to my conclusion. Phineas and Ferb was only brought back because Disney was lazy and they didn't want to come up with anything original. So instead, they brought back an existing IP that they can make more money off of, even though the IP already ended. And it really pisses me off that Disney of all studios is doing this, because they literally had a home run with the Owl House. And yeah, the Owl House is gonna end eventually, I know. But realistically, it could have gone on for longer than just like 3 seasons. If only Disney hadn't canceled it, you know, because they were being scaredy. Yeah, they were being fucking scaredy. If Disney hadn't canceled it, it probably would have gone on for like 2 more seasons. But I guess we'll never know, will we? At the end of the day, people are still gonna watch the new season of Phineas and Ferb, because yeah, it's Phineas and Ferb. Of course they're gonna fucking watch it. But me personally, I'm just gonna sit back and see what happens. Because 1, I'm too old for this shit. And 2, I just really don't care. I've said it before, and I'm gonna say it again. I just really don't give a shit. As usual, guys, this has been Xavier Rants coming at you with Rants. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe. Also, if you want to give me some ideas on what my next video should be, make sure to hit the Discord link in the description so you can check out my server and put it in the ideas channel. Other than that, adios.